So I'd like to share the closest thing that I've ever come across to a cure for fear. And I know that sounds crazy, but there was a really interesting finding from a study that was done at Stanford about the fear response. So before we get into this, just imagine to yourself that you have the ball with the game on the line. There's 10 seconds left. You're dribbling it at the top of the key, and you can feel the fear and the adrenaline and the anticipation and the expectation. All of your teammates and your coach are looking at you. The fans are looking at you. All of the pressure is on your shoulders, and there's fear moving through your system. Okay? So imagine what that would feel like in that high pressure situation. And what scientists found is that there are essentially three responses that we can have to any fear-based scenario. Okay, so response number one is that you could retreat. That would mean in this case, like passing the ball off, not taking the shot, and just fading into the background and saying, I don't want none of this, okay? Too much fear, too high stakes, like I don't want to do it. So it could be retreat. It could be to freeze. So you hesitate and you tighten up and you don't quite know what to do, and maybe you wait a few seconds too long and then you make some kind of hesitant moves, maybe turn the ball over, maybe run out the clock and lose the game. So you froze up in that situation. That's number two. Response number three is that you can move towards the fear. This would mean, of course, attacking the rim, creating a shot, and taking it. Whether you make or miss, you moved towards what you fear. So you can retreat, you can freeze, or you can attack, move towards. What scientists discovered is that in moving towards the fear, our brain actually releases dopamine, which we've spoken about in recent talks, but it's essentially a feel-good neurotransmitter that is associated with elevated mood, motivation, energy, things of this nature. When you get out of a freezing cold shower and you feel this rush of energy, that's dopamine being released by your brain. So dopamine is like this sort of very motivating molecule within the brain, and they found that dopamine is released when we move towards what we fear. In other words, that's why courage and bravery feels so good when you actually do it. And we don't have any courage or bravery if there's no fear. Fear is the prerequisite to courage. Otherwise, it's not courageous because you weren't afraid. So in situations that you fear, your brain is actually wired to make you feel good when you move towards what you fear. This is really, really interesting because it means that the cure for fear is forward action. For example, if there's a pretty girl at school that you want to talk to and you're just hesitant and afraid and you don't really know, the cure for that fear is actually just going up and starting to talk to her. That's it. And the fear dissipates. When you're up at the top of the key or like near the half court line, dribbling the ball, 10 seconds left, game's on the line, the cure for the fear that you're feeling is to simply attack. It's to take those few forward dribbles and start making your move. And the fear begins to dissipate. So the cure for fear, I'll say this one more time for emphasis, is action, is forward movement. And the way that I like to share this, I think I shared this in week 3 of the Deep Game program as well, is that fear is one of the foundational emotions. And emotion means energy in motion. Emotions are designed to make us move. And fear is one of those survival-based emotions that was designed to help us survive in the wild. If we see a lion out on the safari, fear is going to course through our system and create all of this available energy to make an escape. It's going to charge us full of adrenaline to heighten our senses and enable us to hopefully get away from that lion. So nature doesn't make mistakes. There's absolutely nothing wrong with fear. It's here to make you move. And as long as you move, that fear dissipates and turns into available energy. So one last time, I've said this a number of times in this little note, but I want to emphasize this. The cure for fear is action. If you're feeling nervous, passive, hesitant, playing a little bit afraid, the cure for that is to attack aggressively. If the game is on the line and the ball's in your hands, the cure for the fear that you feel is to move forwards and take that shot. Attack your defender and take that shot. If you are afraid of getting into a matchup with a particular player, the cure for the fear that you feel is to match up and attack that player and the fear dissipates. If you're afraid to speak with that pretty girl, the cure for that fear is to speak with the pretty girl. So this is not for the faint of heart necessarily. It requires courage, but without fear, there is no courage. So if you have the courage to step up, the fear goes away. And one of my favorite sayings of all time comes from this old biologist. Nature loves courage. It rewards it. And your brain literally rewards you with more dopamine, more feel-good chemical in your brain if you have the courage to take action towards what you fear. All right? So keep that in mind, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Hey, it's Taylor. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, the best thing to do right now while it's fresh in your mind is to head over to deepgame.com and join us in our free masterclass. Now, this is where you'll learn all 8 laws of the deep game and all of the fundamentals that you need to know about the part of basketball that's played with the mind. We've had players call this the best hour of basketball learning of their lives, and it's completely free right now. So head over to deepgame.com to join us, and I will see you there.